Hi, I'm John Ruggiero, and this is New Jersey Paranormal. Joining me today is my teammate, Tanya, and our special guest, Christopher DeCesare.
Pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks for being here. Chris DeCesare is also known as the Ghost Boy of Geneseo. As a young college student, Chris's view of life changed due to a series of horrifying events at his dorm room, in and around his dorm room, C2D1 at SUNY Geneseo College. It was between February and April of 1985. Chris and his friends in the dorm experienced what is now being referred to as the C2D1 haunting. Thanks for being here, Chris.
My pleasure.
Now, I watched your DVD. Please talk to me. As a paranormal investigator for many years, we have the experience of going into a haunted building, helping a family, but we're only there maybe 8 hours, 10 hours, and then we leave. Now, meeting someone like you, I found your story very interesting because you're someone who lived it day after day, 24/7 for 3 months straight. So to me, that was very interesting, and I think a lot of people would want to hear from someone like you. It's different when you watch a movie that's based on a haunting and it's 10% true story, 90% Hollywood. Your DVD actually depicts what happened to you through this whole experience for 3 months.
It was a tough process because the haunting itself was grueling and traumatizing. So when I agreed to work with Cedar Productions and EA Film to look at the concept of production of a film or documentary, you had to go back to visit those times, those places, those events. And if someone, say, has been raped, you got to go back to that street corner to look at that. It's hard to do. You try to move beyond that and step forward. So in our case, we had suicide, we had people attacked, we had priests come blessing the room. So it was a tough process, but I'm hoping that when people take a look at that they get something from it, something positive. Okay. Now,
again, we watched the DVD together as a group. And for me personally, it all started with a lecture.
That's right.
You had gone with your friend Jeff, who also lived Erie Hall.
That's right.
To see a very prominent paranormal lecture with a prominent
demonologist.
Right, demonologist. Yes. Ed and Lorraine Warren, who now are very popular, very mainstream. They're very well known in the paranormal community.
Absolutely.
Including movies that were based about hauntings that they had.
At the time, not so much. So you had gone to see this lecture.
Yes.
You enjoyed the lecture, after which you and Jeff wanted to go up and meet Ed and Lorraine. I have a clip of what happened, and I want you to comment on it.
We were able to actually meet the speakers, which, of course, Jeff thought was an amazing thing because they were well known and respected in the paranormal field. I was just being polite.
Chris and I approached the table.
And I remember she said, "I'm not going to shake his hand. I won't do it. Because I don't want to know my future." And he stood there, and he blocked her, and we walked away.
Now, my first question to you, and there are a lot of them after watching this DVD together, was, at that point, what was your interpretation of what Lorraine Warren had said to you?
Well, I didn't have a strong interest in the paranormal. My friend Jeff had heard of these people from the Amityville Horror, I suppose, and he asked me to go with him, and it was free, and in college, free is good.
Yeah.
And it was a big crowd, and they had these EVPs they played, these recordings. They had some interesting slides, and at the end, Jeff said it'd be great to ask them some questions. They gave us opportunity to go on stage and shake their hand, say hello. And I was being polite, and I walked up to the stage, and as I got my foot on the top of the stage, Lorraine looked at me and said, "I won't shake your hand. Wow. I don't want to know my future." And I looked behind me as though to say, who is she addressing? And it was me. And Ed then very politely but firmly escorted me off the stage. And Jeff asked me, "What did you do? Did you make a face? Did you make any gestures or sound?" I didn't. This is my face. This is how I look. I don't know what to make of it.
Wow.
And they went on a tour of the campus, and I stayed in my room. I felt a little embarrassed by that. I didn't know what to make. Jeff felt that perhaps Lorraine sensed in me some kind of latent gift, some kind of, sensitivity that I wasn't necessarily sold on. And I know her daughter Judy now, and I spoke with Judy about 2 months ago, and this always was set inside of me, and that's a sad thing. And I said to my mom, just when someone has some kind of ability, it's strong, safe to stay away from them. It crosses the wire, so to speak, and so don't take it personal. It's just that she was saying that you have some kind of ability or sensitivity.
Oh,
I wish I'd known that, 30 years ago, but as a teenager, you don't know how to take that. But
Yeah.
she was elegant, and he was tremendous. It was like Elvis and Colonel Parker in the Paranormal.
Yeah,
They're just
definitely.
it was an believe in the paranormal or not. It was an amazing, amazing show.
Wow. After the lecture, how soon did the experiences start for you, and what happened? What kind of experiences did you have?
I wasn't necessarily looking for an experience, so things may have begun before I noticed them.
Okay.
But about 12 days later, February 11th, I began to sense things weren't right. There was this voice, this disembodied voice would start calling my name, Grass, Grass, and I figured it was a joke, some kind of practical joke for my college friends. And I opened the door, and no one was in the hallway, and I went to the window, and no one was outside, and it happened again and again. So what I did was, to avoid this joke, I put headphones on. 1980s style, Princess Leia. Mm-hmm. And I blasted a song, a DVD. It was Voice of America, Sammy Hagar, I Can Drive 55. You probably should, but because this way I couldn't hear the voice. And then over that song, in the headphones, I heard, Grass. I threw them on the ground, and that's when things started to get a little strange for me. And I didn't believe this was possible.
Wow.
And then the following day, in my room, I saw this person standing behind me, not too far from the stereo, with his head tilted, and I couldn't believe it. And I was a nationally ranked runner when I was younger, and I was taught you don't panic, you just keep controlling your environment. When I saw this thing, I panicked, and I screamed, ran into the room saying, help, help. Not that it looked so scary, it's the fact that I was seeing it. It didn't make any sense to me. Right.
Well, you've referenced in the DVD that there was an episode where you were in your bed, and actually you heard something, and then it felt like there was sort of a tug of war with the pillow.
Yes.
And I'm going to show that clip now.
Absolutely.
That night changed everything. And I think it's one of the main reasons my roommate did leave. There was a moment where I'm wrestling with nothing for my pillow. My feet are wrapped around the ends of the mattress. I'm pulling with all my might against my pillow, which is in the air, floating, and something is pulling against me.
Get your damn hands off my pillow! Get your hands off my damn pillow!
And I yelled, Paul, if you value our friendship, you have to look right now!
Look now! Please look now!
He didn't want to. No, I said, you have to look! And he looked, and he said, oh my God, no one should ever have to see what I'm seeing.
So you did have a roommate at the time when this was going on, Paul.
Yes.
And Paul had seen something that night. But you mentioned in the video that the relationship kind of soured after that experience, and then you wound up spending the majority of the time after that in that room alone.
Yeah, it's sad when something breaks apart friendships, whether it's health or money or misunderstanding. When it's something like the paranormal where you really can't get a grasp on it, it makes it less likely to resolve those situations. And I remember his face when he looked over and he saw me struggling with nothing for my pillow in midair. It was a strange expression. I never saw it before. It was half anger, half confusion, half scared. I haven't seen him since, that happened 31 years ago. But, he claims when people found him years later, because he left the college, he just left, that he saw this circle over my head floating, that he heard this thing call my name. And that was the thing. People across the campus heard this, whatever it was, call my name, just Chris. And I wish it was somebody else's name, but, life takes turns. And we each deal with a trauma in our own way.
Right.
You know, some people talk about their trauma, some people hide it, some people express themselves through art or music, and in this case it was sad because I didn't know how as a teenager to bridge the gap of that fear of that psychosis, and it was tough. Jeff, who had brought me to that lecture, he offered to move into the room
did he?
with me.
Okay.
So that I could survive, because I could not sleep in that room by myself. I would wake up sometimes and I would see the face looking right at me, breathing the air from my mouth, and I'd scream. My face would be numb, and I'd run down the hallway, and I would sleep by vending machines for the sound on off electricity to keep me. I'd go in people's rooms. I wanted to move from place to place to place, so it couldn't find me as fast. And if you recall things like Bin Laden or Gaddafi, they would often sleep at different locations.
Right.
Why? Because they don't want to be killed. They want to be captured. And so for me, it was the situation of trying to survive in an environment I could no longer control.
Wow.
You know, we say things like, well, you're a jock or a brain or a stoner or a geek. When those situations happen, for better or for worse, you find out who you are.
Right.
And I learned I was a very honest person. I was sensitive, but I wasn't as brave as I wanted to be.
Not many people would be, but your relationship with Paul was really good prior to.
They called us the twins.
Yeah.
You know, he was a dark twin, I was a light twin. He had dark hair, light hair, and we ran together, we ate together. It was almost like having a brother.
Wow. And
it just the last thing watching that clip that really hits me is that I lost a brother basically, and but. Free will is important, and if he decides it's what's best for him, and if I care about him, that's what he does. He goes, and I stayed in that room in that college because my grandparents, they mixed paint in factories. They carried boxes, you know, and I was in college. They were proud of me going off to college. It isn't like today where everyone goes and gets a big loan. Back then, you had to, you know, it was an honor to go. And I don't want to go back home because of some voices or images and have everybody say, what happened to you? My grandfather fought in the war in the theater, you know, being bombed by the Japanese. I'm going to run home because there's a noise in my room. So it was terrifying, but in the context of my life, I wanted to endure.
Okay.
So these experiences that you had, this haunting, lasted for 3 months, roughly.
Yes.
During that time, how often did you experience something, and how did it affect your everyday life at school? Because being at school is hard enough.
Right, it's
and then
true.
you throw this in the mix, I can't even imagine.
I liked college because I got to run with some very good runners. And if you train people who are better than you are, you get as good as they are. So I like the challenge of that. I like going to school. I like to learn. I love history and science. And so the college itself, I loved. There was pressure on paper deadlines, but other than that, it was okay. But you know, when you can't sleep properly, and when you can't eat properly,
and you're dealing with these,
you can't function properly. Well, that's just it. And you know, I thought to myself, is this a case of someone putting drugs in my food? Is there a gas leak in the room? Is this mass hysteria? Is it SAD? Is it you know, some kind of? I didn't understand what was going on because I didn't want to believe this was possible. And after about 2 weeks, after ruling things out like DNA does, you know, I realized, you know what, this is something paranormal. And my dad was a science teacher.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. You know, you can't see Neptune with your eyes, but you can with a telescope.
Right.
You can't see paramecium, but you can with a microscope. But there's no ghost goggles. There's Aunt Mary, you know. And so I was raised not to think about those things. And you know, when your whole paradigm is changed as a teenager, you don't know how to act or what to do, what to think. And so I just, day by day, step by step, and I trusted Jeff. I said, please, write these things down. I might need to see a therapist. I might need to get some kind of help to make these things go away. And ironically, what he wrote down became the backbone, the source material for the sci-fi show, for Please Talk With Me, for the books that were written. And it was done just for us as a private method of understanding what's happening.
Well, that sort of leads me to my next question. Again, I watched the DVD. There were several occasions where something woke you at night, whether whispering in your ear or you're seeing it, where you run out of that room, you go down to Jeff's room, you're banging on the door, you're saying, you know, let me in. I'm not going back to that room. Can I sleep here? And Jeff was actually the one who sort of, you referenced this, took on the role of a paranormal investigator, where it wasn't mainstream then. You didn't have ghost hunters on show, ghost adventures.
And he knew what to do.
You couldn't Google a paranormal team. Back then, it was, like you said, it was just sort of under the rug. People really didn't talk about it yet. This is happening to you.
Taboo back then.
Right. So Jeff comes, starts keeping a journal. He was really trying to prove to you whether is this real or is this in your mind? So he started recording things,
Yes.
Photography, video.
Writing it down.
What were some of the things that he sort of did and captured that really did finally hit home for you that, okay, it's not my mind, there's nothing wrong with me, this is real?
Which is important. I can tell you at that time, I didn't want evidence. I knew it was happening. I didn't want a reminder of it. It's if you think your spouse is having an affair on
Right.
you. Do you want to see pictures of them having the affair with someone? It's like that's hurtful. So knowing is enough. But Jeff said, listen, you will someday want these things. People want to know what happened in this room, in this college, because this is very unusual. And I agreed to be basically his conduit. I would go into a place and try to speak with the ghost if someone was with me, never by myself.
Right.
And he said, Leo, let's get a photograph of this thing. And we went into the room, C2D1, and he said, call the ghost. And I said, I don't know how to do that. I just know, And he says, he put my hands out like this.
Right.
And he'd seen it on a TV show, I guess, and said, call the ghost. And he had with him a 35mm camera, he had a fish thermometer, he had a tripod, he had a pen, his whole paraphernalia there. And as he's preparing to use these things, the closet door unlatches and opens up in the room.
Wow.
And I see in the closet door this mist. I thought to myself, this is not supposed to happen. I didn't really want these things to happen.
Right.
And so there I'm seeing it again. He doesn't see it. He's looking to see it. So I try my best to talk, and I'm so scared I can't. I make this grunting sound, And he looks over and he says, oh my gosh. And he sees the door's wide open. And this breeze is flowing right at me. It's pushing my shirt back and the papers back. And I said, take the picture. Take the picture.
So
and they do a very good job on sci-fi on that. Absolutely right.
Right.
And he takes the picture, and that's what I sign at shows and conventions. You used to have a headshot, like cheese. I don't like that. So I signed an actual photograph that shows the impact of the environment on what this thing was. And, he never did see the thing.
Okay.
He saw the effect on the environment. He saw changes in temperature. Things move, but not the actual thing itself. And so he said, where is it? Because it ran through me. And I said, it's above my bed. And I don't see it. The dead thing, I pointed, that's the ghost. I don't see it. He goes, how could you not see it? So he said, if you see it, take the camera, take the picture. I took one shot, and I bolted. And that's the picture later on that became a very well-known photograph of the skeleton basically above my bed, right where it happened. And he was so happy. Because he wanted to show people there was something really happening. I was terrified because I didn't want proof there's something dead talking to me at night and calling my name. I don't want that pressure. I really wished, I'd hoped it was internal.
Right.
Because then I can maybe manage that.
Right.
But if there's something out there that's dead, that's dangerous in my environment, I don't know what to do about that.
Well, we actually have that clip from the DVD.
I saw the picture that I had taken. I had said to Jeff, it's right there. It's right there. And Jeff didn't see the thing. And I said, the thing looking at it's the dead thing. But my bed, that's the ghost. And he said to me, if you see it, take the camera, you get the picture. I said, fine, I'll take one, then I'm out. I picked the camera up, boom, took that shot, and here it is. Days later, I see the picture that I took, and right where that thing was, I see this skeleton. And I thought, oh my God, this isn't in my mind. And you would have thought I'd be happy about that. But I wasn't. I wished it was in my mind. I wish I could have gone to someone to say, listen, these are hallucinations. Take some medication. Go talk to somebody. But no, this was the proof that I didn't want. This was the proof that something dead was following me around and whispering things in my ear as I slept.
Now that's really powerful, again, because he's living this.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not sure what he's dealing with. Again, taboo, this isn't mainstream yet, and now he has a picture of what it is that he's seeing. So that really is something. Again, as paranormal investigators, we come across certain things and we've seen things, but again, this is sort of normal now. But for you, how old were you?
I was 19.
19 years old. In your dorm room, and you're dealing with this every day.
You know, a lot of people love the paranormal, looking for proof of life, looking for answers beyond, and that's a beautiful thing. You know, when the towers came down, 9/11, I had 3 friends who joined the military because they wanted to defend democracy and freedom. They went over there, and my God, they said it was scary. It was people being blown up, you know, just not getting message home to their parents. So sometimes the concept is a very noble one. It makes sense. But the reality of being in a spot like that can be far more terrifying than you expect. And I always let people know, just be careful. You know, live your life the way you want to live your life. But there are times when people can get hurt. There are times when people can experience something they're not ready for. And, you know, the paranormal for me is like love. I mean, love, you can't prove it. It's a risk. You can give your heart to someone and get it torn apart, you know. And when someone says about the paranormal, it's how it affects you, you know. And I don't feel I have to prove anything to anyone, but I do tell people, listen, you know, my experience was such that it made me a better person. I listen better. I think before I speak more. My mind's more open to possibility. And any trauma you have, whether it's a cancer scare, you know, whether it's loss of a job, you know, the question is, how do you handle these things? And seeing that picture of that ghost, that skeleton, my God, that was, it made me try to face a reality I don't want to face. But life is life.
So you eventually sought the help of the school chaplain,
I did.
or priest.
Yes.
He came, he did his blessing. After the blessing, what experiences did you have? Did it help? Did it not help?
Did it continue?
Yeah, did it continue?
Going to the priest was actually Paul's idea right before he left. And he was an atheist. So you know, when he was saying, let's go to see a priest, something was up. Yeah. And I didn't want to go because I was afraid. I went to church there and I was afraid they'd think I was, you know,
was it a
crazy.
Catholic priest or was it?
He is a Catholic priest, and he worked at the Newman Interfaith Center. So all faiths is you know, non-denominational. But you know, we brought this priest, Father Manning, the notes, Jeff's notes, because rather than us trying to explain things in a you know, an offsetting way, he could just read through page by page and see. And he read for about 45 minutes, almost an hour. Wow. He looked up and said, I'm going to help you. Wow. And it was so nice to have somebody say, I'm going to help you. And he said, listen, give me 2 days. Give me 2 days, I'll come on down there and I'll fix your stereo. And I said, fix our stereo? He goes, look, I'm not going to say I'm going to do this thing in the room. I'll just say I'm fixing your stereo. And the notes, there's a stereo. I'm like, that's so brilliant. So, you know, he came down there on March 6th, the Wednesday in the evening, and he brought with him his big briefcase, and this is the room, and he put some kind of oil on my forehead. He got some holy water, and he got some incense, and he began saying these prayers. And this, I asked God every night to take this thing away, and it didn't work. And for about 20 minutes, he walked around, and there was this feeling of calmness, and then he said, we're good, we're done. And I didn't notice any change. It wasn't like in the movies where there's like giant bat feet and
something
blood.
Like leaving the room.
It just got very quiet. And I asked him, I said, can it get back in the room? That was my main question. And he said to me, only if you invite it back in. And I said to him, that's never going to happen. I'm never going to invite it back in. And then for the next 4 days, nothing happened. And I thought to myself, well, how is that? Was it the prayer? Was it the book? Was it his... How did this work? But if someone tells you they love you, don't ask why. They might think, yeah, why do I love you? Instead, say thank you. And whatever he did worked. I was thankful. And 4 days later, on March 10th, I went for this long 10-mile run in the countryside. I came back into the dorm to take my shower. And that's when the severe attack occurred, the most negative part of the entire haunting. You know, and my guess is that this spirit, this thing, wanted to talk to me. The blessing, in a sense, stopped that from occurring. And I think almost like a loyal animal, if they're hurt, they might still bite you.
Well, let me play that clip, and then we'll talk about the effect that had.
The most vivid memory I have of this haunting was as I was lying on the bathroom floor in Erie Hall. I had just been attacked by this ghost, this thing. I had seen in the mirror, before I fell, the scratches that were beginning to bleed right away. The pain was unbearable. My back was burning, but that wasn't as bad as the pain of trying to understand what was happening.
Again, the priest does a blessing.
Was it a blessing or an exorcism?
I asked him that, and actually, just a real quick aside, I was on Coast to Coast and with George Norrie last June, and I always thanked Father Charlie, Father Manning, wherever I went. I didn't know if he was alive or dead, and at that moment he was in the hospital in the post-op room, and he heard me thank him over the radio. And I couldn't believe that, and so he reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I want to say hello to you. It's been 30 years. And he said, I wasn't doing exorcism. I was doing a blessing to find that spirit some rest and to give you some peace of mind. And I said, thank you so much for doing that. You restored my faith. He said, listen, I'm retired now. No one comes to see me. The fact that I could hear someone say thank you to me 30 years later on the radio, on a national talk show, thank you. And so, you can't ask a priest to bless room after room after room. It's not functional.
Right.
And the blessing did work in the sense that it didn't go in my room.
In the one room.
So it worked. But sometimes you win the battle, lose the war.
Exactly.
And it got angry, and he began to attack people. And, that shower attack was just horrific. And what do? How do you fight back against that? And at that moment, I thought, maybe I should just go to sleep. I'll just lie on the floor and just close my eyes and just hope for the best. And I recall in history class the Holocaust images of stacks upon stacks of unclad bodies lying there in piles. And I thought they were in the shower, and they probably prayed. And what happened? I thought, well, that's good enough for them. It's good enough for me. If this is what's going to happen, it's going to happen. And luckily, Jeff and people had heard me screaming in the bathroom, and they opened the door and they pulled me out and go to the hospital. And I wouldn't go. I don't want to be sedated. I don't want people to think I was hurting myself. And so for 47 minutes, it was cotton swab, peroxide, bandage. And I just stayed in my room for 3 days, just sitting there with the bandages and just wondering what happens next.
You mentioned that your father's a science teacher.
Yeah.
All of this is going on at school, yet in the DVD we see that you really did never tell your father. Never once did you call him and say, hey, this is going on here. Why is that?
My father believed that I could do good things, great things. He raised me with the adage that what you need I will give you. What you want you get for yourself. He trained me to be a marathon runner. When you're out there on the 23-mile mark, he can't carry across that line. It's on you to do it right. I didn't want my father to think I was going to fail. I didn't want my father to assume I couldn't hack it. I wanted him, just my grandparents, to be proud of who I was. I was the firstborn son of a firstborn son going back 5 generations in an Italian family.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. You rolled your sleeves up, you went to work, and you took care of things. And I was proud of that. It's not always easy. I called my father once, and I said to him, Dad, something terrible is happening up here. I don't know what it is, but it's real. I don't know what's going to happen. He dropped everything. He made the 5-hour trip in 4 hours. He said to me, I will stay the night. What's going on? And for the first time in 2 months, I slept. When I woke up in the morning, he hadn't slept.
Wow.
Let's go for a run, he said. We went for a little run on the campus. Didn't say a word. It was beautiful. My dad and I just running, just our time together, like father and son. He got back to your room and said, listen, change your room.
Wow.
That's what he said, change your room. And he wouldn't say why. It wasn't until a quarter century later, 25 years later, when the sci-fi show came out, and I saw him on the television screen talking about the haunting. I thought, what? And so I gave him a call after the party and I said, listen, what was that about? He goes, listen, there was something in that room. I don't like talking about it, but it was there. And you're my son. I love you. And you were right. I'm not going to go on national television without people knowing it's true. And so because I don't like these things, I'm saying that, hopefully you understand I love you too. And people say, well, he left you there, Chris. He left you in that room by yourself. Look, if you've lost your father, you miss your father. If you have your father, you appreciate it. I had a father. He loved me. I appreciate that. And right now he's 73 years old. His birthday was yesterday. I love him for being there for me. Sometimes being a parent isn't just judging. It's not just controlling. It's accepting. And in that moment, I realized my dad was telling me, you can do this. And I love him. I appreciate that,
So really quick, Chris, because we're running out of time here. Looking back, do you think that meeting the demonologists, that maybe something followed you home from that lecture? Or do you think that maybe you did have some kind of mediumship ability that caused this interaction with the spirit?
Well, I think that everyone has some type of skill in that area. You can be tall, can sing well, draw well. Some people just happen to see these things. I think it's just DNA. But, and life makes what life is. I'm just glad that we endured it, that I survived it. I have good friends, and I've lived to tell this tale of survival, and I'm very honored. I'm honored to have been on television. I'm with you. I've written a book, the movie, so I'm thrilled. It's from lemonade come lemon sometimes, and I think I've done that. And I just tell people, if things happen to them, eat, sleep, and talk to somebody.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank
We
you very
enjoyed having
much.
you.
Thank you
The
very
book is Surviving Evidence, and it is available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. The DVD is Please Talk With Me. It is available at Chris DeCesare's website. Chris, thank you for being here. Pleasure having you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of New Jersey Paranormal.